And welcome to Capital Talk, a program we hope will have an impact on the future of Kenya. And now, more than ever, I'm Jeff Kinanga. Now, if you've been watching Capital Talk all this week, you know we've been having the best of the best. The commentators who call it like they see it, especially in those Sunday papers, from Mutahi Ngunyi to Makau Mutua, and now my guest today. We want to put a legal perspective to what's been going on because there's been so many interpretations of what the Prime Minister did and what the President did and what the National Accord says. So we want a little bit of a legal perspective, and then we touch on other issues, TJRC, some scandals, what's going on, the future of this country. Who better to put it than yet another commentator in the Sunday papers? That's right, right by or beside or underneath Mutahi Ngunyi or Makau Mutua. This man writes every week. He's a former chairman of the Law Society of Kenya. He originally comes from Mandera. He has his own law firm called AhmednasirAbdullahi. So his partner is that other young, brilliant lawyer and chairman of the PSC. That's right. So these people are working towards the future of this country, and they'll put things in perspective for us without fear or favor. First time ever on the bench, AhmednasirAbdullahi.
Thank you very much.
My brother, welcome to the bench.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming, man.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I love your articles.
Thank you.
Very, very good. Very hard-hitting.
Thank you.
Huh?
They are mild, actually.
You call it mild.
Yes, sir.
But you know, especially this past weekend when you're saying, you know, we almost applaud thieves. We like it, Kenyans, for some reason, if you steal 1 billion shillings, you become a hero overnight.
I mean, it's a culture, you know, we have developed over time that we don't just flirt with thieves. We embrace them.
Yeah.
I mean, when someone steals billions, I think Kenyans really admire it. But when, especially in a society where mob justice, you know, is almost a culture. I mean, if someone steals a lot, he goes scot-free. If he steals small shillings or he goes to prison.
Yeah.
So it's a country that frowns on small thieves, but embraces big-time thieves.
Which means that if, you know, kids growing up, when they see these things, they say, hey, man, I'm going to be a big-time thief because I'll get away with it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a culture that has evolved over time, and I think it will be with us for some time until we address it, until we show that, you know, white-collar criminals go to jail.
Are we going to get to that stage, Ahmednasir?
God knows. I mean, it's actually, I mean, it is for us as a society to decide that. So far, we have not, but who knows the future? I mean, we may have. The beautiful ones are not yet born, they say.
That's what they say. Okay. The shenanigans of this past weekend, Ahmednasir. I mean, I'm telling you, it's just been ridiculous. One thing after another. But you, as a lawyer, the interpretation of the National Accord. Attorney General says only the President can suspend or fire. The Prime Minister's advisor on coalition matters, Miguna, the Canadian, says the Prime Minister can suspend. Who's right?
I mean, I have not agreed with Amos Wako for so many years, but I think this one I agree with him.
For the first time?
For the first time. I mean, he was spot on. That is really the interpretation of the law. Both the Constitution and the National Accord. I mean, the Honorable Prime Minister doesn't have powers to sack or suspend or, you know, shovel aside. I mean, he doesn't have that power. The power to do that is reserved in the Constitution for the President. I mean, Kenyans may not know, but I mean, Raila has powers to bring 20 or 40 from his side to the cabinet, but he doesn't have the power to remove ministers even from his side. If he's unhappy with Balala, for example, or Ruto, he doesn't have the powers to sack them or to transfer them. That still is in the domain of the president. I mean, the issue also, I mean, these are the issue whether, you know, it is set aside. That concept is not known to our laws. It's not in the Constitution. It's not in any other statute. I mean, a person who breaks the law, whether you are a minister or not, can be sacked, he can resign, or he can be interdicted if you are in the civil service. No. But this idea of, you know, suspending someone for 3 months doesn't exist.
Yeah. What if he had consulted the president and said, look, can you please either suspend these people or transfer them? Would that have been different?
No, but I mean, if you look at the TV coverage when he was giving the statement in the Kenya something Institute Administration,
KIA, yeah.
He said, "I have recommended to the president," which means probably the president declined to accept his recommendation. Then suddenly we hear the Prime Minister saying that I've exercised powers pursuant to the Constitution. I mean, if he has that powers, I mean, will he have recommended the first time?
No. But then he goes on to the BBC and says, I didn't need to consult the president.
Yes, yes, yes. Actually, I had also that. I mean, we have three contradictory statements, all showing that the Prime Minister, you know, either recommending, acting on powers he doesn't have, or saying that he has consulted the president. I mean, really, I mean, the nutshell of this whole circus is that, I mean, let us be fair. Let us interpret the law the way it is. The bottom line is that the Prime Minister purported to exercise powers he doesn't have.
And that, at the end of the day, was a bad move.
Of course, I mean, when a person of his stature breaks documents like the Constitution, it's not good for him. But even politically, I mean, he has boxed himself into a corner in the sense that, I mean, he has done an action. The president said that, I mean, that's null and void. I will not act on it. He purported to suspend some people. They are still in office. I mean, that demeans his stature.
Yeah, yeah. And now he's left with egg on his face, and then he's coming back to Kenya after this trip to Japan. What does he do?
Just look and watch. I mean, he doesn't have, what can he do?
Does he rally the masses like he's very good at, or is he also losing support at the grassroots?
I mean, one thing we cannot take away from the Prime Minister is he's politically astute, but I don't think those are any of the options he can take, really. I mean, rallying the masses to do what? Kenyan masses ready to be rallied now for what cause? I think my view is really that I think this was a bad political move on the part of the Prime Minister. He normally makes very good moves. Yeah. He's very astute, he's very smart, but I think this one is a misstep.
There are some people who say the Prime Minister never makes a move without looking at it, without see what the consequences will be. But this time it looks like it was a little rushed.
Not real rush. I think it was more frustration. I mean, I think if he makes a recommendation to the president who ignores it, I mean, he has this problem with Ruto, especially Ruto. I think Ongeri was collateral damage. I mean, it was someone caught on the side. Yeah. But I think the fire really was targeted at Ruto. But I mean, if you can't sack him, if the president will not listen to your recommendation, what options were left to the Prime Minister than to go this very public way and hope that it works?
Yeah.
Yes.
Does he resign? The Prime Minister, would he? If you were him, would you resign?
Not for this one, I think. I don't think he will resign. I mean, he has made a move which is not correct legally, which is counterproductive politically. But I don't think it's of such a nature that should force him to resign. Yeah.
Yes. Parliament resumes next week. Is it going to be heated? Do you see how do you envision the scenarios in that house once it reopens?
I think it will be heated because I think one thing this issue brings out is that